Let's go! Batter up! We're taking the afternoon off. It's a beautiful day for a ball game today. The fans are out to get a ticket or two from Walla Walla, Washington to Kalamazoo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's edition of Inside Pitch with me, Joe Mansolino, and my co-host / producer, Mr. Brian Lehman. Brian, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for asking.
You're quite welcome. What have you been doing since the World Series has come and gone?
Well, I had to take a few trips to go out and see some prospects out there. There's Heather out in Houston, and then there's Sally up in Atlanta.
Okay. Speaking of prospects, there were a lot of awards given out after this World Series for the 2019 Player Awards, Manager Awards. Some of them were prospects at one time, and now they're very successful in their field. Let's start off talking about that.
Sure.
First of all, let's talk about the World Series. What a series. 7 games, and for the first time ever, a home team didn't win any game.
Wow. That was an exciting series, and I think that added to the excitement also, having it turn out that way where the home team didn't win.
I do too, because I think every time you thought the home team, okay, this is the one they're going to win, and it never happened. So the Nationals won in 4 games, 4-3. And it was a very exciting World Series and very exciting for the Washington Nationals. First time ever winning the World Series in their short history. Very, very excited about what they did. They had a great year, especially after the slow start that they had. I mean, they really came back. They had a great year, great postseason, and they were fun to watch.
Yes, they were. Matter of fact, anybody that missed the series, well, it sucks to be you, because those don't roll around every day like that.
Boy, that's for sure. It was one of the best World Series, exciting, that I could think of in a long, long time. I mean, everybody, like we said, you didn't know who was going to win from game to game. I mean, it was just really something. Fun, very fun to watch.
Well, it was for me. Of course, half the time I'd be watching it at somebody else's place. Like I said, I was pre-scouting the prospects at that point.
Yeah, I was able to watch them all, and it was fun. I mean, I was very happy for the Nationals. They were the last team that I worked for back in 2012, and great organization, great fans, great stadium. I'm really happy that they were able to put it all together and win it.
Yep. Thank you, Washington Nationals, and for putting on a series like that for us, for all of us fans at home.
Very, very exciting it was. And then, the awards were given out, and there's usually a lot of controversy with those. Sometimes some of the ones this year there were, and others were just obvious, so we can talk a little bit about them. Let's start with the most valuable player. In the National League, Cody Bellinger won it. Second place was Christian Yelich from the Milwaukee Brewers. And in third place was the third baseman for the Washington Nationals, Anthony Rendon. All three, I think, had great years. And I think they came out in the right order. I think Cody Bellinger did deserve it. Besides winning the MVP, he won a Gold Glove. He won a Silver Slugger. I mean, he just had a great season from beginning to end. He was really good. Yelich had a great season, even though the last few weeks he was hurt and couldn't participate. I mean, he had a great year. And Rendon, really a good year and an exceptional playoff, which of course doesn't count in the voting, but he just played. He dominated the postseason.
Yep. And matter of fact, all three of those guys have to be proud of where they ended up. Of course, the Bellinger is probably disappointed they didn't get farther in the playoffs, but he did his part to get him there.
He did his part to get him there. He didn't do his part to keep him there.
No.
Him and Kershaw and Seager did their usual postseason swoon dive, but he got him there. I mean, there's no doubt about that he got him there and kept him going through the whole season. He was very good.
Well, the funny thing was some of these guys, it's like you wonder what happens. Like, do they just emotionally or mentally freeze up when the playoffs hit?
A lot of it is that. A lot of it is just the pressure and you can't produce in the pressure, or you put so much concentration on yourself to you have to do it this time instead of just playing the game. That's why a couple years ago when the Cubs won, they were just playing the game. They were young. They didn't think about the pressure. They just played it and they won. I think a lot of these guys, and Kershaw being one, he's known now for consistently choking in the playoffs, but I think he tries too hard. Instead of just going out there and pitch, he tries to, he thinks about his past failures in the postseason, and this isn't going to be the year, and I think he tries to overpitch instead of just playing the game.
Good point. And that's a crying shame, too, because a guy as talented as him having that kind of struggle, that's too bad. Because if he just would do his game, the bulk of the people would just fall away. But unfortunately, like I said, when you're out there trying too hard, it just always seems to bite you in the butt.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really sad that, he'll probably be remembered more for his postseason failures later on through history than he will be for, like you said, I think the last 5, 6, 7 years in the game, he was one of, if not the best pitcher consistently during the regular season. I mean, he's a great pitcher.
Good point.
So, yeah, very, very, very sad for them. I'm sure Bellinger is disappointed, but, he won his individual awards, and winning those helped them get that far. So, I mean, he did his job during the regular season, and more power to him.
Good point. So, talk about the American League.
The American League, and we talked about it. Mike Trout won the most valuable player, and I just don't know how he was valuable. He was valuable because his team only came 35 games out. So if it wasn't him, they'd have been 45 games out. That's not valuable to me.
Good point.
He could have been the player of the year if there was such an award, and I think he would have been. But he's not valuable. They're not doing anything. But the person I thought should have come in first, Alex Bregman, came in second. He had a great, great year. He's a great player, clutch player. And Marcus Semien from the Athletics came in third, and that was a great choice. He was really good. So I just, again, and people will argue about Trout, but I just don't think you're valuable if you don't get your team into the playoffs, especially if you're 35 games out.
Good point. What's funny is this year it seemed like there were a lot more athletes, seemed more stacked towards the American League. Prior to the season, everybody was projecting the American League to dominate all the way through, and it just obviously didn't work out that way. But
yeah, they're in those preseason guesses are all hunches and territorial, if you will. The Midwest guys all think their teams are going to win. West Coast thinks theirs are. East Coast thinks theirs are. It's very territorial. So all those predictions usually come out to who has more of the writers, and they're going to have most to say this is how it's going to end. Very frustrating, but I mean, it was good. I think the MVP should be a most valuable player, and I think baseball needs to add in player of the year, because there's no doubt that the player of the year in the American League should have been Mike Trout, and should have been the last several years. I mean, he's probably the best player in the American League, but he's just not valuable. They're losing by too many games. He's not bringing his team anywhere.
Is it because he's not a great team player, or is it because just they need a little help to bring him?
Well, I think they need a lot of help to bring him. I think they need more pitching. There's no doubt about that. I think they need another hitter or two.
You think they're trying to build from within, or do you think they're just
floundering? I'm hoping, for their sake, that during this off season they do everything. Mm-hmm. They go out and spend money to get things that they need. They're developing players from within. I mean, I'm hoping between the two they do that and field a much better team this year.
Well, God knows they've got plenty of places they can go fix things.
They do, and they have the money. But they're paying a lot of money to other players who aren't producing like they hope they should, and so we'll see. That's always a challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when your team goes out and blows a wad of cash on a guy, and he comes in and he's more interested in watching what's happening in the dugout than he is watching what's happening on the field.
And that happens a lot, especially players their first year after signing a big contract. And again, they put too much pressure on themselves to perform. They want to justify the fact that they're making the crazy amount of money that they're making, and they can't take that individual pressure that they're putting on themselves. You know, if they just went out and played the game, they'd show you why they're making that kind of money. Not that anyone deserves that kind of money, but since they're making it, they'll show you why.
Well, see, I'd be willing to take half their money just to see if I could produce at my job. I'm more than willing to just take the money and show them how to do it the right way.
Well, you know, while you're out there prospecting, go see some of those teams in the areas, and they all have tryouts. Get out there and see what you can do.
Oh, I'm not talking about baseball. I said it in my job.
Oh, okay. Let's move on. In the Cy Young Award for the National League as best pitcher, the winner was Jacob deGrom from the New York Mets. Hyunjin Ryu from the Dodgers came in second, and Max Scherzer of the Washington Nationals came in third. Very, very tough selections right there. DeGrom had a great year. It was his second year in a row winning it. I like the fact that Ryu came in second. I think he was the best pitcher on the Dodgers staff this year during the season. But I think Max Scherzer was the best pitcher in the league. I think he should have been in first and Ryu second. But that's the way it came out. So that's what we'll go with.
So what you're saying is the Mets have a very strong media presence.
The Mets have a lot of people out there. But DeGrom had a great year. I mean, he really did. And last year he by far deserved the Cy Young. So I think that helped him a little bit too, because he's been there before. But so is Scherzer, and he dominated. I think all just like Bellinger did in the regular season. So did Scherzer, but he kept producing in the postseason. I mean, he just did his job. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. How long do you think they will keep him in Washington?
As long as they can. As long as they can. I mean, that's a great. You know, they just re-signed Steven Strasburg's free agency, and we'll talk about that a little bit with our super fan, Erica Reynosa, a little later. But he signed a 7-year, $245 million contract with the Nationals to come back, and I think that was a great move on their part. I don't think they would have been able to keep Rendon anyway. Strasburg's a great number 2 pitcher. I don't think as many teams as they thought were going to bid for him, because I think people realize he's not a number 1 guy. You know, the Nats tried to make him a number 1 guy for a lot of time, and he couldn't step up and do it. They got Scherzer, and when they got Scherzer and made him the number 1 guy, Strasburg improved tremendously. I mean, he really became a better pitcher once that pressure of being the number 1 guy was off his shoulders and given to Scherzer, and he was great.
Funny how that works. You have guys that they're really quality athletes, but just when they've got to be the bell cow, it just doesn't work out for them.
Yeah, and that's true. And I think that's, you know, the fact that they re-signed him and they're going to still have that 1-2 punch. They're going to be tough next year. You know, I know they're not going to sign. I'm sure they won't keep Anthony Rendon, but they've got to get somebody close to that caliber to be able to, you know, pick up the things that Rendon did. And the last thing I heard was they're talking to the Chicago Cubs about Chris Bryant. So If they could do that, that'd be a great thing for them too. And let's go to the American League Cy Young. We had Justin Verlander of the Astros win it. His teammate, Garrett Cole of the Astros, came in second. And his former teammate from the Astros, now with Tampa Bay, Charlie Morton, came in third. I mean, great choices, I think, in all aspects.
When you look at that list, though, sometimes you're thinking, if the Astros had all these guys, what happened back then?
Well, they definitely had the pitching. I mean, it was awesome, you know, and now they're probably going to lose Garrett Cole in free agency. He hasn't signed with anybody yet. But there's a lot of rumors out there where he's going to go. I mean, I think some of the biggest rumors are either New York or L.A. to the Yankees or the Angels.
If I were the Angels, I think I would step up and say, yeah, I'll just take him.
I think for the Angels, they need to do that, but so do the Yankees. The Yankees really need a dominant starting pitcher. And Cole is that. I mean, he's very dominant. He actually is an alumni of one of the guests on our show. He went through the Mark Cressy School of Baseball
Oh, no kidding.
as a youngster, and look where that got him. You know, way to go, Mark Cressy. He just, I mean, that's really cool. He's from Orange County, so the Angels would be a good fit for him in that respect. But I think the Yankees will be more willing to spend that kind of money than the Angels will, even though they have it. So that'll be interesting to see where Garrett ends up. And as free agent sign, we'll be talking about that on the show until the new season starts. And so far right now, the only big name free agent to sign was Strasburg for his 7-year, $245 million, which is $35 million a year. Not bad for a pitcher.
No, not bad at all. Matter of fact, he's probably feeling a little gypped right now, but
I could probably live on half of that.
I could probably live on what he makes in one game.
Yeah, I think I could too. So let's go to Rookie of the Year. Some good picks in the National League. Pete Alonso from the Mets won it. I think that was a great pick. He had a solid year, and they all did. Number 2 was Mike Soroka from the Braves, and third was Fernando Tatis Jr. from the Padres, and all of them had great rookies years. I think that's a great 1, 2, 3 in any order. Great rookies. They're going to go on, I think, to have great careers, hopefully. They did very well this season. And Alonso, I think, deserved to be the winner. But all three are great. Fernando Tatis Jr., it played dominant. You know, I mean, all of them. It's going to be great for the Mets and Braves and Padres to have those guys for years to come. In the American League, another Astro, Yordan Alvarez won the the Rookie of the Year, followed by John Means with the Orioles, and then Brandon Lowe from Tampa Bay. Again, three great picks.
Well, now, did you have a favorite in all those, though?
I like Brandon Lowe from Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to come back and really be a good team. They had a great year this year that I think surprised a lot of people. And I think that they will be a dominant team in the American League next year. I think they will make it into the playoffs.
Well, that's funny because, you know, before the season started, I was looking at Tampa Bay going, all right, they're going to be like Miami. You know, they're just their placeholder or whatnot. And then all of a sudden they just started getting it together and started knocking them out.
Yeah, they looked really good. Really good. I think 2020 is their year to make the playoffs and then start making things happen. They have a great fan base.
True. There
in Tampa Bay. So congratulations to them for having such a good year, and I think they'll be real happy next year, like we said.
Yeah, if any of our friends down in Tampa want to invite us down to one of the games, that'd be great. You know, we're more than willing to come and bring our own beer.
Rumor probably has it we'll go anywhere for our own beer, but you know, yeah. Come on, those of you in Tampa Bay, invite us down. We will film Inside Pitch right there with you, and you can be on with us.
That's right. We'll even buy the beer. But if you really want to make friends with us, you buy the beer and give us a place to stay, and we'll be your friend for life.
There you go. Now we get into other than players, the manager of the year. Some very interesting things. In the National League, the winner was the Cardinals manager, Mike Shildt. He did a really good job with that team. Craig Counsell from the Milwaukee Brewers were second, and he's done a great job the last few years in a row. He's got that team getting ready to be dominant. And the Atlanta Braves really stepped it up. Their manager came in third, Brian Snitker, and he did it. He's got them going. I think the Braves are going to be back in the running in the playoff spots for years to come, starting in 2020 also. I think they're going to be just like Tampa Bay in the American League.
Yeah, speaking of young teams, that was a team that they weren't ready for prime time as far as the playoffs, but they did have a great season.
They really did. I mean, they kept getting better and better and better. I think he did a great job.
Good point.
Tough situation. You know, they have the new stadium a couple years now, and they're gelling with the stadium. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to watch them.
I wonder if they'll stay good through the whole time they stay in that stadium, because you know the way that Atlanta is with building stadiums. It's good. Like, hey, 10 years, let's get another one.
I think they'll be there for a long time, and I think they're going to have a good team for a long time. And those Atlanta fans are great fans also.
Yeah, now it's funny with Schilt winning it all. I would say he did deserve it though. The way they snatched it from the Braves in the playoffs, that was just impressive.
They're going to be a good team. I like all three of those teams actually. The Cardinals, the Brewers, and the Braves. I like them all.
Yeah, it's funny because the folks I know in St. Louis and the general area that are Cards fans were all kind of like, we suck at the beginning of the season. And but they would still take their, people from here would still take their pilgrimage up there,
Sure.
once or twice a season just to see them play.
Sure, and they didn't let you down. I mean, they got better and better as the year went on. It was fun. And then we got the manager of the year in the American League. The Minnesota Twins, who are coming on strong now. Rocco Baldelli was the manager of the year, followed by Aaron Boone of the Yankees, and in third was Kevin Cash of Tampa Bay, because he, as we were talking about, he did a great job.
Yeah, he definitely wouldn't hurt my feelings to see him come in higher, because the job, like you said, the job he did, he earned it.
I agree. I mean, Tampa Bay, the Twins, the Yankees, if they actually go and get Garrett Cole, the Astros, of course, are going to be in it again. I'm interested to see what's going to happen organizationally with them, because, as you know, it was determined this year that in 2017, in their World Series against the Dodgers, that they cheated and were stealing signs from a camera and knowing, signaling pitches of what's coming and things. And very sad that organization did it, because I really think they were the best team in baseball this year. But they did, and I want to see how Major League Baseball handles that whole situation and how the Houston Astros organization handles it.
Good point. Now, I wonder if they were using an outside production company to film what was happening in the clubhouse. They were just there to film production. And, by the way, they were passing along the signs they were getting from center field.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's going to be interesting to see what happens as that progresses. I don't know what took them 2 years to find out, but it'll be interesting to see how that progresses.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some folks I'm sure there's some Dodger fans out there who are just, all right, make them give up the Dadburn World Series.
I'm sure there are. And my position is no, because just because a guy can steal a sign and know it's coming, they still have to produce.
Yeah, you still have to hit the ball.
Right. I mean, the Dodgers lost. Don't say now give us the championship, because no, you didn't win.
And you're dealing with pro athletes. This isn't like your local Tiny Mike team, which I still lead the league in strikeouts.
But yeah, I am very disappointed that the organization did that. I know it wasn't everyone in the organization, but I'm real interested to see what Major League Baseball does with the results of that once everything is final, and see how they handle that. And we will be talking about that on Inside Pitch once that happens.
Yeah, the funny thing about pro sports, there's always something happening. And sometimes the off-the-field stuff can be as much, if not more, entertaining just for the sheer drama of it all.
That's true. That's very true. Well, let's get on. Speaking of the Washington Nationals and the great World Series that they had, we're going to have on tonight one of the super fans of the Washington Nationals, a young lady named Erica Reynosa, who lives and dies for the Nationals. A wonderful, wonderful lady. And let's go ahead and get her on the phone.
Sure. Hold on just 1 second.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have our guest, a super fan of the Washington Nationals, a great young woman. Very proud to call her a friend. Her name is Erica Reynosa, and she is what you could call Miss Washington National. Wonderful, knowledgeable lady. Erica, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Joe. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. Let's get down to it. How did you like that World Series?
Oh, it was amazing. It was not what I expected, because I think it was just so surreal. I've been through so many years of never making it past the first round with the team, and once we made it past the first round, it was just like, is this really happening?
Yeah, I mean, and you have. I mean, you were there when they didn't even make it to the first round, when they did make it to only the first round. And I tell you what, if they were asking for anything, I think they should have given you a World Series ring as well.
Well, I doubt that they'll give me one, but I'm sure I'll receive an order form at some point.
Welcome to baseball nowadays. Wow. So how many games did you actually attend?
It was probably around 60 total. I have a 40-game plan with the team, and then you know how I am. I add on a few games here at home. I make a few road trips. This year I went to Milwaukee and to Pittsburgh, and just keep following the team. I love those guys. I've had the opportunity to get to know a few of them a little bit, and you know, just having that connection just makes my fandom much stronger.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it makes mine stronger just seeing you with all those guys. Because I loved my time there with Washington and watching them play, and it keeps my fondness just seeing you and the excitement that you have and the way they treat you. It's just awesome. How many of the World Series games did you hit?
I went to all the home games here, and then I also attended each of the watch parties that they had at the stadium. And on top of being able to be there myself, my parents happened to come to town, and I got to experience the whole thing with them. And as you know, my baseball fandom, you know, kind of came from, you know, those early days as a 2-year-old hanging onto the fence when my dad was playing in church league. So, you know, it was a blessing to have gotten to spend experience all of that with them.
I know they were thrilled themselves, but really thrilled just for you and being able to share it all with you. I know that was exciting for all of you guys.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, and I actually grew up an Astros fan, but I'm definitely a complete convert here in D.C. But my poor parents, they were catching a lot of flack from everybody back home, but I've kind of converted them, and they enjoyed the heck out of the experience, I think.
That's fun. That's really fun. I mean, that just the excitement involved. And to think, you know, we were talking a little bit earlier on the show about the fact that, you know, no home team won a game this season. That had to be a weird feeling for you sitting there wondering, okay, we've got to win this one at home, and then just never happening.
Well, yeah, after the first 2 wins in Houston, I think we came back, and you know, the idea of potentially sweeping was in people's heads, and we lost that first one, and everybody was like, okay, we've got 2 more here at home, and you know, to lose all 3 at home was disappointing, but it was, you know, kind of along with the whole experience being surreal, it was different than when we had lost all those NLDS series here. Everybody just seemed a little calm. There wasn't a whole lot of panic in the fans. You know, just it was it was a lot of fun, but it was just really weird. You know.
Wow, that is. I would have assumed after they lost the 3, you thought, okay, that's it. They're going to win one at home, and you know that's how it's going to go.
Well, I think we were a little bit nervous, but even going into Game 7 at the watch party, I was outside in the rain with some friends, and we were all just kind of talking about how, you know, I think we're going to do it. We're trying to be careful not to jinx it, but, you know, there was a quiet confidence.
That's awesome. Yeah, that just had to be, you know, it's never happened before. That just had to be a weird feeling where no home team won when you always expect them to win. You know, that added a little more to it.
Yeah, it was just everything about it was pretty amazing.
It was very fun to watch. I think we were talking earlier, and I think by far it was one of the most exciting World Series that I can remember.
Yeah, I know that, you know, just as we see every year that there is success, you know, there were a lot of people that jumped on the bandwagon, and you know, we just welcomed them with open arms. And you know, everybody that we could get on the bandwagon with us, we were happy to have them. At work, I had everybody, you know, wearing Nats gear as well, and it was a lot of fun.
That's great. I mean, that just has to be so much fun for you guys. How about, you know, you going into postseason, and of course, unfortunately, in some respects, a couple guys, Steven Strasburg and Anthony Rendon, had outstanding postseasons, and going into the postseason. It looked like you guys were going to lose both of them.
Yeah, we're all, I guess we're still half nervous. It's the business of the game, in the current era. Although we were all thrilled yesterday to hear that Strasburg is back with the team. I think a lot of us were pretty confident that would happen. We all knew that he sold his home in San Diego and bought a home here in D.C., so while we weren't 100% confident, we were a little nervous probably for a little bit, but once we heard he signed, we felt like it was probably going to go that way. With Anthony Rendon, we all want him to stay, but we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah, and as you know, the owners came out earlier and said there was no way and even though we know this isn't true, they came out and said there was no way they could afford both of them. It's going to be interesting, but I have to tell you, after
negotiation tactic, but the other side of it is we know there, or at least we know publicly what the family is worth. But I also recognize that the entire worth of the Lerner family is not the entirety of what they're willing to put into the baseball team.
Absolutely
so
right.
You gotta kind of understand that, but I think that might have been a little bit of negotiating. I think that there's probably still a chance, at least maybe my heart just wants there to be a little bit of chance. So we're keeping a close eye on that, hoping everything works out the way we want it to. But with the understanding that the business of baseball, it might not happen that way.
Well, and that could be. But I tell you, when I first heard that he signed that contract, after being extremely happy for Crystal because Washington is her number one team, you were that half second there too, because I thought, oh, good for you guys and good for the city. I love the city, I love the team, and I'm very, very happy that he came back. I really didn't think he would. Scott Boras isn't known for letting players come back. He's known for chasing the dollar, and I didn't think he'd be back. I'm really glad that happened.
Yeah, I think Strasburg is a little bit different than the typical free agent or what we see the typical free agent act like. You remember a few years ago he signed the extension unexpectedly, and it had the opt-out. And, while, there was a little bit of fear behind him opting out, I mean, financially that was the only thing he could do. So he's getting what he's worth. He's an MVP. He was outstanding this year after a few years of, questionable health. I think it was last year, my understanding was that he spent the whole off season here and had a plan, and I think it worked out really well. I've heard that he's already, on his off season plan at Nats Park, getting ready for next year. So that makes next year really exciting for us.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't put that, extra pressure on himself like so many do after signing the big contract where he's going to be out to justify the fact that he's, being paid $35 million a year. And I hope he doesn't do that to himself because he's going to make the money either way. Just relax and have fun and do what you can do, and he'll be a much better pitcher.
Well, and he's that rare player that I think was really excited or is really excited about being able to spend the entirety of his career in one place. He's a little bit of a different animal, and he's our animal, and we love him.
I hope so. I hope he's that Cal Ripken, Tony Gwynn kind of guy, and he stays there forever. That would be a great thing.
I think he figured the health thing out. I think he's got that figured out, and hopefully he'll have the stamina and the longevity, and it'll be a 7 more fun years with him.
I hope so. But I really think that what made him a better pitcher than he was when the Nationals signed Max Scherzer. I think the fact that Max became the number one guy, it took that little bit of that pressure off of Strasburg, and he developed into a number one guy.
Yeah, and I think this past year with Gerardo Parra and Anibal Sanchez, I think, you could see from all the clips in the dugout, or at least we did here. I don't know how much of the rest of the country saw, but you saw him kind of relax into himself, and I think that also did a lot for him. Yeah,
that's a great thing. And again, I'm just really happy for him, happy for the city, happy for you, happy for Crystal. Life is good if you're a Washington National fan right now.
It definitely is.
the watch parties that they had during the World Series, it seemed like they were very well attended.
Yeah, it was really exciting to be able to be at the park with, a lot of the same people that we were used to being around. I think that camaraderie was good, and then I think it was game 2. They had certain sections where they were kind of gearing the fans towards, and we noticed that they opened more and more sections because there was that much interest, there were that many people coming in. It was really exciting, and an added benefit for season ticket holders was we had special sections for us, and they provided us with free food and non-alcoholic beverages. And I was telling,
very classy.
Yeah, I was telling my rep that was the most special that I had felt as a season ticket holder in all these years. As the team gets more popular, you're excited about seeing more people in the stadium, and talking about the 2012, 2013, 2014 years. But as a season ticket holder, we kind of started seeing our benefits kind of backed off a little bit, and I think it was really special that they did that for the season ticket holders above and beyond what they did for the fans as a whole, and that was really nice and really special to be at the park and be able to share it with everybody. It
was. I know we were there with you during 10, 11, and 12, and you've had your season tickets for a long time and truly are probably the best fan that they have, and I'm sure they know that you're the best fan that they have.
Several of them know me by face. If they don't know me by name, that's for sure. But we've got a great fan base. You got to know a little bit while you were there with us, but that Section 103 family has grown and grown. There's several of us that we started where we got used to seeing each other, and then we started like a little group chat, and now we've kind of hung out outside of the season together. I consider them some of my best friends at this point. We've traveled together. Some of my pictures from trips along the way, you'll see some of the same people because they're all we're all built the same cloth. Like to make some road trips here and there, like to support the team, at home and away. And so it's been nice to grow that family and get closer to the people that you see, pretty regularly, almost as much as, the people you see at work.
Yeah. I mean, that's really fun too. And that's something the team needs to know is that, what you just said on the air is happening. I think the team should know that, and you would probably start seeing more benefits and more privileges and things given to you guys, because that's a great story. I mean, that's great for not only as a fan watching a team having that feeling, but that's great for the team themselves.
Yeah, and it's the extra perks you get for being a season ticket holder. I know they can only go so far, because there's the cost benefit equation for them. But I think several of us have written emails over the years letting them know that, you don't even have to do that much. You just need to do a little bit to make us feel special, and you've got us hooked, for life.
Well, and unfortunately with you, they probably know they've got you hooked for life anyway. But you're right.
It's hard for me to say no.
And you shouldn't have to say no. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It really is. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like being that kind of a fan and experiencing, road games as well as home games. I mean, it's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, and I've told several people that when things aren't going well personally or at work, walking into the ballpark, that's just my happy place. That's where I can let everything else go away and just kind of get sucked up into the atmosphere and the joys and the ups and downs even. It's just the ballpark is my happy place.
Well, and it is, and that's awesome. But as you say that, it makes me think I've been lucky enough to be in several World Series games, and I'm sure you noticed, as exciting as things are at a stadium, the electricity at a World Series game, there is nothing like it.
Yeah, it was amazing. The cell signals were pretty weak because everybody was trying to capture it. I posted a little bit of my own. I had went live on Facebook for a couple things. I've posted pictures. In fact, I still have pictures I haven't posted because I was just so in the moment that, taking the time to post everything wasn't a priority. So I've got some World Series pictures, some parade pictures. I don't know if you saw the day they flew back from Houston. I was in the small crowd that was there at the park and was able to touch the trophy.
The
a couple
trophy.
times
I
as the
saw
players
that.
walked by.
That had to
it
give
was-
you some
it was pretty
goosebumps.
special. Huh?
That had to give you some goosebumps.
Oh, absolutely. I think I cried a little bit, but I've been doing a lot of that through this whole experience, and I don't mind admitting it.
But happy tears. Nothing like happy
Yes.
tears.
Yeah, I mean, hardcore baseball fans, even out of that group of people, not all of them have gotten the experience of a World Series and it being their team and then to win it all. It's a special experience that not a lot of baseball fans, I think, get to experience. I know we were wondering if we'd ever get there as we lost in division series after division series, and it's just a joy.
Well,
right now.
and as you know, as the kind of fan you are, I mean, teams like the Chicago Cubs, the Boston Red Sox, they're waiting 100 years to do it again
Yep.
when they finally did. So, 14 and 15 years of a wait isn't really anything in comparison.
Yeah, my mom at one point was looking at the aftermarket value of the ticket, and she asked me if I wanted to sell them. It could have paid for my whole season plan next year, and just I couldn't miss the experience of being there for my team in the World Series.
And I agree. And even a playoff game, as exciting as they are, the electricity in the air and the excitement of a World Series game at home, there's nothing like it. There is nothing at all that you can experience.
It still
that's
gives
like
me chills now thinking about it.
I'll bet. That's just wonderful. So going into the 2020 season, what are you as a fan hoping for, experiencing now? How do you think you guys are going to look?
It's actually looking like we may look rather similar. I've been, watching the hot stove, season now, and I saw that we re-signed Howie Kendrick, which was a little bit unexpected, and that's pretty exciting. And we've got Steven Strasburg coming back, and there's we're waiting to see what happens with Anthony Rendon. But if he's the only one that's not back, we could look very much the same. Juan Soto will still be here. Robles will still be here. Adam Eaton signed an extension, or he had it was an opt-in or something, so he's still around. Trey Turner's still there. We'll see what happens at second base. We're likely to see Carter Kieboom come up. We saw a little bit of him this past season, and he's still got some seasoning, but there's a good outlook for him. I'm pretty certain that we're gonna re-sign Ryan Zimmerman. I know that he, like Howie, won't be an everyday player. It's just the way things are, but we'll see what else they bring in to platoon with him and platoon with Howie to fill in the gap. Like I said, Carter Kieboom could be that at second base. We've got both our catchers coming back. We've got Jan Gomes and
I was
Kurt
happy to
Suzuki.
see they re-signed him.
Yeah, I was excited. He did well at the end of the World Series when Suzuki was hurt, but during the season as a whole, we probably didn't see the performance we were hoping for. So this gives him another opportunity to kind of average that out, and maybe we see a little bit better version of Jan Gomes going forward. We've obviously got Max Scherzer still. We've still got Patrick Corbin. We've still got Anibal Sanchez. So that fifth starter will be interesting to see what happens. I was very proud of Joe Ross when he had to fill in at the last minute for Max Scherzer when he had the stiffness for that one World Series game. Austin Voth, towards the end of the regular season was, a spot starter while we were trying to get everybody healthy, and he wasn't perfect, but he did really well. So that we don't seem to be losing much from the World Series roster. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. I've got my trip for spring training booked, so I'll get an early look.
There you go. And I think, Soto is going to start. I mean, Soto, as a lot of people know, I know Washington fans realize, is one of the main reasons they were okay letting Harper go as much as they wanted him to come back. But they knew Soto was going to step up, and he did exactly that. He had a tremendous season as a 21-year-old.
Yeah, and he's just he's a joy. Watching him, he shows so much joy and emotion. From playing. I know he does a few things that some people don't like. I don't mind it so much.
He has a little bit of that Yasiel Puig in him.
Yeah, I don't want him to be, I mean, we as fans, we don't understand it, but there's still a lot of people out there that consider baseball boring. And if you're not allowed to show emotion and personality, then, it can definitely feel a little bit boring. So to have, to see him, express his joy in the way he plays, I enjoy the heck out of it, and my season tickets are in left field, so I get to see him up close and personal, game after game, and I'm excited that he's with us. Hopefully he'll stay with us, but we're not going to worry about that for a few more years.
That's right. And I've heard recently that in case Rendon leaves, that there's a plan B where they're talking to the Cubs about getting Chris Bryant.
Yeah, and I've heard they're also looking at Donaldson. So I mean, we'll have to fill that third base spot. If it's not Anthony Rendon, it'll be somebody. We'll see what happens. Figure that out as we go. I think they're not doing their due diligence if they're not talking to Chris Bryant. Talking to Chris Bryant like everybody else. So it may or may not mean anything. We'll have to see.
I agree, but I mean, just like you said, I mean, at least the fact that they are talking says a lot. They're trying to make it be the best they can be for the team. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, for a certain segment of the fan base, there's a popular phrase, "In Rizzo we trust," and there's the obvious misses like Trevor Rosenthal, but there's a bunch more hits that he's made. The trade of Steven Souza Jr. That got us not only Trey Turner but also Joe Ross. I mean, I think that was mind-boggling how successful that.
Yeah, that was a great trade
so,
for Washington. A really great trade. Both of those guys stepped it up and did a great job.
Yeah, I never was able to do it, but when Trey Turner was the player to be named later, that everybody knew who it was. He was actually in AA playing in San Antonio, and I was trying to figure out if I could manage a trip home, and I was going to wear. My plan was to get a Nationals jersey that had player to be named later on the back to wear to the game, but I wasn't able to work that one out.
Oh, I'm surprised. That would have been a lot of fun, and he would have loved that too. That's fun. Well, I hope that 2020 is another great year for Washington. I think it's going to be. The managers, Martinez stepped it up a little bit towards the end of the year, and the team did, which was good to see. That struggle in the beginning of the year ended up not hurting them at all, and if anything, maybe brought them together, which is a great thing. And I don't see them having that initial struggle in 2021. In 2020, I think they're just going to start playing baseball.
Yeah, it wasn't the map that I would want to follow for another season.
No,
but
that's a definite.
We're just
That's a definite. There was in April, May, June on Inside Pitch, I was talking about, Washington has to let him go. He's not doing the job. The team is there. He's not doing the job. And the team stayed the same, but he started doing his job.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that were ready for him to go. Just what I feel like I know about the organization, I didn't see that happening, and I'm glad he turned it around. I've had the opportunity to meet him a few times. He's a really nice guy, and I'm glad it all worked out.
I'm glad it all worked out too. I want to thank you for giving up your time to talk with us today and sharing your insight of the Washington Nationals, the world champions of 2019, coming from the super fan of the Washington Nationals. Great for you to spend your time with us. We really appreciate your insight and your excitement, and I hope you have the rest of a great evening.
Thank you, Joe. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, Erica. You too. You take care. The great
Alrighty.
super fan of the Washington Nationals, ladies and gentlemen, Erica Reynosa.
Eric is gone, so thank you.
She is something. I mean, she knows her baseball, as you could probably tell. Knows the players, like she said, personally, and they all know her, if not just by her face. They know her name, and I've been there, and they know her by her name. She's just great. She's what all fans should be. That she is their number one fan. My wife loves the Washington Nationals. That is her team. So again, I was very happy to see the Washington Nationals win it this year. I do think starting in 2020, they're just going to come out strong and not have that struggle. So depending on what happens with a couple signings for them, especially third base, they're going to be right in it again next year.
Well, it's good to see, and their fan base has earned it. They supported them from the get-go, so that's great.
They have a great fan base there. When Montreal went there in I think 2005, the fans were so excited, and they still are. That excitement. That fan base will be with the team another 50 years, at least, and then their kids will be there, and their kids. I mean, you very rarely see adults there without having their kids with them. I mean, so they're developing that next group of fans and the next group of fans. I mean, Washington fans are great. To tell you how great they are, going into every football season, they think the Redskins are going to win. And they still, even when they're not, they go to the Redskin games. Washington fans are great sports fans.
I'd agree with that. Matter of fact, Washington Redskins give us the hog pin. So what do the Washington Nationals give us? They've got to have their own personality flair out there somewhere.
They give you excitement. That's what they give you.
Oh, there's a novel concept. People that say baseball is not exciting. The Nationals are giving their fans excitement.
They are, and I'm good to see what the organization did for the season ticket holders. What Erica was talking about. The fact that if you were there watching the away games, they fed you for free and gave you free non-alcoholic drinks. I think that's great for them to do to season ticket holders. Most organizations don't do that, and hopefully that will become a trend. I think that's very, very important, and the fans deserve it.
Yeah, good point, because not everybody wants to go out and spend $200 to take two kids to a game and feed them a hot dog each. That gets a bit obscene after a while.
It gets crazy, and the more they're paying this kind of money to players, the ticket prices go up. I don't know why, because what the players get paid is taken care of in the TV contracts of the teams. So they're just greedy, in my opinion, and pass that cost down to the fans when they don't need to and shouldn't do it. But that's a whole other topic and a whole other show for many, many, many weeks, probably.
Yeah, no kidding. It's not like back many years ago where fans got into the game for $2 and they could have a meal and everything else for $1.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like you said, you take your $200 and you're just minimalist getting into the game.
I mean, there was always, back in the 60s especially, that entire decade, where if you went to a game, as you walked in, you bought a program. People can't do that anymore. Everything else the tickets are too expensive. The programs are too expensive. You want a Coke that you could get, at your local Tom Thumb, 7-Eleven, for under $1 for a big 64-ounce drink. You go there and you get a 12-ounce drink for $7.22. I mean, it's crazy.
So they say, well, we got to pay the staff. And it's like, yeah, not like that.
Yeah. And nothing against Strasburg at all, but as conversation's sake, instead of $245 million, let's give him $240 and spread that other $5 million around to the staff members that work there for you.
Yeah, you just made a lot of friends at the various stadiums by saying that.
But that's what they should do. That is what they should do. I mean, it is ridiculous what prices fans come to be a fan of the team. And baseball wonders, especially in the minor leagues, they're doing all these stupid things and rule changes, and in extra innings somebody stands at second base, and just all this stupid stuff to try to speed the game up when it doesn't need to be sped up if you just played the game right. And the fact that they don't treat the fans right. If they just treat the fans right, the fans are going to be there no matter what.
Oh, you want the fans to be treated right.
Isn't that a novel concept?
Well, that's a complaint in every sport, though, and at a lot of levels, because college fans, you hear the same complaints from them, like, they just expect us to be here, and complain when the fans don't show up or if the fans leave early.
Yeah,
and that's
and I agree that it's with all sports.
I mean, how many times have you gone to college football, college baseball, basketball, or semi-pro, or minor league team of any sport, and you're walking out going, dang, that was expensive.
Yeah, probably every time.
Because I'm the guy who goes and buys, I'd like to buy a glass of beer and a bottle of water, and then when I'm handing them $20 and not getting change back, I'm not a happy camper about that.
and neither are the other millions of fans that are going throughout the country on that day.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. And hopefully things will change and they'll spread that cost around and take some out of their own pockets and keep prices stable for fans. But I don't ever see that day.
Well, yes, and some of this has been brought about by Jerry Jones and the things he's done in their sport. And it's a crying shame, because it used to be it was all for one and one for all in the leagues. And now it's more of, it's all about me. The athletes are more that way, and the ownership is more that way.
Very much so. Very much so.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still some owners out there that are great folks, and they love to see their fans, like we were talking about with the Washington Nationals. They like the folks to have a good time and feel like they're part of the franchise.
Yeah, the Lerner family's great like that.
But, there's a lot of other times you can point around and say, well, that's the owner up in that skybox when they show up, and they don't ever, they keep jacking the prices up because people show up no matter what.
Well, and I know for the longest time that the O'Malley family owned the Los Angeles Dodgers, they thought about the fans. They were determined to keep ticket prices low. Mm-hmm. They were determined to not have any ads on the walls, ads throughout the stadium. They just wanted it to be about baseball and the fans. And then as salaries rose and rose, they had to give that philosophy up. They still cared about the fans and kept ticket prices down, but they had to start selling ads to put on the walls and on the various things because the game's gotten out of control.
That's it. You go to a stadium now, and there's all this. You feel like you're marketed from that moment you pull into the parking lot to the time you pull back out of the parking lot. It's like nonstop inundated with ads.
Right. And it's not even nowadays. You can't just say it's Cardinal Stadium. It's things like AT&T / DirecTV Stadium.
Yes.
There's just you don't. There's too many other things involved in money instead of just the game and the fans.
True. And there's nothing more obnoxious than sitting in the stadium, and because somebody hit a double, we're going to play this soundbite from whatever commercial. And today we're pushing, Burma Shave, whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's really sad. But on that note,
we'd like to thank our sponsors.
This is this is all about World Series time and the awards and the aftermath. And again, congratulations to the Washington Nationals for being the 2019 World Championships. Congratulations to all of their fans, in particular super fan Erica Reynosa and Crystal Mansolino. And
I had to put the ads on there.
As you can see, our ads, as this is the USA Mortgage Inside Pitch Show and Peregrine Inside Pitch Show. No, it's not. We're here for the fans.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening tonight. and we will see you next Wednesday. Have a great evening.
Thank you all, and thank you for listening in. And as a matter of fact, as you can tell, at least we only have a little bit of ad at the beginning and a little bit of ad at the end. We don't have beat you to death with the whole show. But if you want, we could, if you really would like that.
Have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening.
Bye, everybody.